Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with another Call of Duty video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. We're almost at 770 subscribers, so I do appreciate any support, and it will reduce your skill-based matchmaking. At least I hope so. In this video, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about how it feels to be 2 years sober off of buying Call of Duty on a yearly basis, and I just kind of wanted to see if anybody could relate to my feelings or if anybody had any similar experiences. That said, I kind of want to pose a question off the rip. If you still buy Call of Duty on a year-to-year basis, do you buy it because you consider yourself a super fan, or do you buy it because you consider yourself addicted? And even then, do you know the difference between the two, or is it even something that you can identify? I asked that question because I myself am a player who has been playing since Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1, and I do find myself a little bit disillusioned or disenfranchised when it comes to Call of Duty generally speaking and how they have been treating their player base as of late. And when I say that, I do want to be a little bit more clear. My malcontents comes from a place of growing up during the golden age of COD, as you can see on the screen. Literally, they were making banger after banger after banger, and I never wanted to grow up to be the older guy who was like shaking his fist at the air saying, back in my day, but it really is literally one of those situations, and they didn't make their first quote-unquote bad game, generally speaking, until Call of Duty Ghost. And funny enough, I bet money if you ask the average COD player if they would rather play Call of Duty Ghost or if they would rather play Modern Warfare 2022, I bet money most of them would probably want to play Call of Duty Ghost, even though that was generally considered a horrible game or one of the worst games in the franchise. But somehow, some way, Activision tries to set a new or set a new bar as far as like playing limbo, for lack of better words, because they're just trying to get as low as they can. And I'm not even talking about in terms of like visual fidelity or gunplay or like audio design or anything like that. I mean, I guess the audio design has been kind of shitty lately too in Warzone, but that's a whole nother story for another video. I say all that to say that it's kind of like watching your best friend who was on his way to the NBA drop out and become a drug addict, if I had to like kind of turn it into an analogy for better words. And there's a lot of reasons that they ended up having so much negative sentiment on YouTube and online generally speaking. But let's get into that a little bit, shall we? So hear me out, use your imagination a little bit. Let's say you were the CEO of Activision and you had two executive producers named Zampella and Jason West, and they proceeded to bring you literally the best-selling franchise that you have ever had in the longest as far as like IP is concerned. Let's say they did so good that they were promised some bonuses and you were the CEO in charge of making sure that bonuses were getting paid out. Would you, A, do the morally right thing and pay your employees for doing a good job and delivering you a good product, or would you, B, try and keep the money for yourself and fire said executive producers even though they did a really good job and brought you an amazing product that is making you tons and tons of money every year? You can honestly keep your answer to yourself or put it down in the comment section if you feel like a cool kid, but I'm sure you know where this story is going. The CEO essentially chose to be selfish and keep most of that, if not all of that money for himself, which of course upset the employees of said CEO, and they decided to leave along with taking half the developers of their team with them to a new company to form Respawn Entertainment, which went on to make Apex Legends. This event is essentially the catalyst towards Call of Duty going downward as far as the trajectory is concerned, and the reason that that is important is because it shows that they as a company are not necessarily concerned with retaining their top talent. I mean, if you have somebody that came over from EA, which I'm pretty sure if you guys have been around long enough, Electronic Arts they used to make like Battlefield, or they they still do make Battlefield. They made Battlefield Medal of Honor. They were essentially the people or the main company competing with Activision when it comes to having the most dominant first-person shooter on the market. Which I know Fortnite kind of takes the cake now, which that's kind of a sad thing to say. But yeah, man, I mean, if you're not really gonna try and keep your best players on your team, then you're gonna end up like the Washington Wizards, if that makes any sense. To wrap that last point up in a neat little bow, you need to only think back at the last few years as far as like the games that Infinity Ward has made. None of them have been received well except for 2019, and even then that one kind of has an asterisk on it because that's when Warzone came out, and one could argue that Warzone is essentially the only thing that saved Call of Duty at that point. I say all that to say that the lack of talent at Infinity Ward is definitely very apparent. So how does that translate into the game quality? I think you can see if you look back at the last 5 years. Another thing that you will notice in the last 5 years, if you've been paying attention, is that they are trying to cut corners in many areas, and it's not the areas that are most apparent or that the casual gamer would even care about. It's the little things that I guess your typical gamer wouldn't even notice, like continuous packet bursts, very, very bad ping, very, very bad servers. If I'm not mistaken, I think Call of Duty is running on 20 hertz tick rate servers, which I think they've been running on that since like what, 2009. So it kind of just goes to show that investing in really good servers is not something that they're necessarily or something that is not necessarily at the top of their priority list. And as you can see, it is very apparent. You can just go on Twitter, and for days and days you will see people constantly complaining about having horrible connections as far as like the ping, hit registration being horrible as well, which leads to the ghosting bullets, and of course the ever so infamous erroneous visual blood effects that they have now taken out the game. So when you do shoot somebody and you basically get a no hit reg, then you can't even tell because the blood won't come out either. So we have already established that they are not really interested in paying their employees when they actually do a good job, nor are they interested in retaining their employees who happen to be really good at their job, which is beyond me. I never would have thought a company would not care to keep their best employees. And of course, we have also established that they are cutting as many corners as possible when it comes to server cost and just maintaining a solid player experience. I didn't even mention that, you know, along with many other companies, they're also trying to lean heavily into AI. I mean, if you have been paying attention in the last couple of days, you will notice that a lot of AI generated content has been surfacing recently with Call of Duty. And it's not even like they have said anything about it. It's kind of like they just went full mask off and just started like shoving all their AI content into the game. It's basically unnoticeable, or hard to not notice, I should say. Let me show you some examples. Honestly, I don't think this one is that bad, but the killer is this one. It's pretty egregious. You can literally see like 6 or 7 fingers on one hand, so obviously that is pretty crazy, and it kind of just goes to show how much they are trying to cut corners to the point where they don't even have somebody in there reviewing the images before they are released onto the, you know, World Wide Web for everybody to critique and get mad at them about. So yeah, man, I mean, they're cutting monies on employees, they're cutting money on servers, they're cutting money on like just trying to use AI and get rid of even more people. I bet you're wondering what they're actually investing in or putting all the money into. Well, I think I know the answer, and it's not something that's going to make the game better. It's just something that makes them more money, because you know that's all they care about. And I'm referring to microtransactions, or skins for lack of better words. All that being said, the only thing I see them really, you know, putting all their eggs as far as like in baskets is in skins and in advertising to get people to buy the game in the first place. Not even necessarily in having an amazing game. They don't even need the advertising, which is crazy to me. Like, everybody knows who Call of Duty is at this point. Why do y'all need to pump so much money into advertising? You know what I'm saying? I guess it's for nostalgia baiting, but still. And I'm not even going to fault a business for trying to make money or, saying that it's wrong to want money in general, but it's more so the way that you go about trying to get that money from said consumers. And you know what we used to be able to pay money for back in the day? Stuff that actually mattered. And it's funny enough that we used to be able to pay for stuff like map packs, which I'm about to show you on the screen right now, because Black Ops 6 is desperately in need of a bunch of maps, and unfortunately, I bet you this game won't get it, or at least it won't get enough quality maps before the end of its life cycle, because that is apparently not where the priorities or where the money is for them. Or maybe it's the simple fact that it's easier to AI generate a skin that you can't even see in a first-person shooter, as opposed to how easy it is, or how hard it is rather, for the new developers who lack talent to make a new map, or a good map I should say, which I know those are very, very few and far in between in this game. And basically, if I had to like choose the magnum opus of things that they have done to turn me from a hardcore play every day, play every year kind of guy into a I haven't bought Call of Duty in the last 2 years, and I definitely skipped Vanguard. Skill-based matchmaking is something that I definitely noticed back in 2014 when Advanced Warfare came out, and it has definitely progressively gotten worse. They went from ignoring it and not saying nothing about it to finally addressing it. What was it, like just this summer, for the first time ever, after so many years of ignoring the community? And again, it's one of those things where you don't notice unless you have been playing Call of Duty for years and years on end. So yeah, man, I don't know. I say all that to say that Call of Duty would be a lot better if they would just get their priorities straight, and I am highly disappointed as a lifelong fan, and it just hurts me to be at a point where I just literally can't even be bothered to buy the game because I know it's going to be a waste of money. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I would be interested to hear your opinions, and yeah, I appreciate you very much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Don't forget to aim for that like button, shoot that subscribe button as well. Help you find better teammates, improve your skill-based matchmaking. At least I hope so. And yeah, black guy out.